Hello, today I'm joined by my guest, Mr. Mike Delap from Homebox, previously Billing Better. How are you doing?
Really well, thank you. Really well. Just having a little fight with my virtual background and my t-shirt, making sure that it doesn't chop my arms off. So see how we go.
We like to, apparently, to get the algorithms right on social media, something needs to happen in a video every 7 seconds to keep people's attention. So if your shirt does phase in and out of the background, it's a good thing.
Yeah. And I am here to help, so just glad to learn that as well.
Mike, I'd love to give people watching this an idea of what it is that Homebox does, and also people that have dealt with both companies in sort of in the past, what it
Mm.
now means them being together, particularly for agents out there. So over to you.
Absolutely. So I'll start, I suppose, with the sort of the wider picture, if you like. So yes, those of you who are sat on this today thinking, well, I've only heard of Homebox recently. Are you a fairly new company? The answer to that is we're not. We were known primarily as Billing Better for probably about, well, up until the start of last year. And what we've sort of kind of done is through acquisition is actually bring together a service for agents that allows them to offer out tenant packages to get their tenants moved in stress-free with their utilities and earn some good money through that. But we've also now bought a very natural sort of merged product together, which also helps agents kind of processing things like utility bills, void periods, doing notifications when their tenancies change hands, and those situations are created as well. So we've kind of bundled that all together into, well, what is still a free service for agents to do. And I say our bread and butter. We actually have a few bread and butters now, which is a nice nice dining table to be sat at. But ultimately, we do a lot with not just the residential lettings market, but we also do a lot with the student market. We do a lot with build to rent as well, HMO, and we also have our own direct B2C channel as well. So there's a number of ways that, in a number of sectors that can engage with us.
So just to correct you on one thing, it's better than free. It's not only free at the point of use, it adds to your bottom line in the long run, doesn't it?
It does, and this is why I need you to fill in for me from time to time. It's been a long day already, but
We
no,
did
you're
say we were going to freestyle this, so
yeah,
this is
and
this is exactly what happens.
I'm happy. I'm happy just to sit back and let you do this for 10 minutes. Saves me a job, but no, it's you're absolutely right. I mean, one of the messages surrounding particularly our tenant package side of things is it isn't just free. The idea is agents can get behind what we do, offer this out as a convenience service to their own tenants and earn income. So they're actually in charge of their own income strands that come from us as well.
And I'm sure this sort of I mean we talk about different solutions plugging gaps or coming along and taking away admin. And this is something that's going to happen on every single tenancy, fresh tenancy that you have. Um, and it's more than just utility switching, but managing that whole process and now being able to actually get on top of having a single point of billing and paying all your bills to one particular place. It is seen as being an advantage, not just to the people that are trying to earn off it, but it's also the people who are the end beneficiaries. So people like those students, the tenants, whoever it is, they don't need to worry so much about setting up 5 direct debits to different companies and overlapping and what date does it come out on. It's
Yeah,
easier.
yeah, and I think I mean, first and foremost, I suppose I speak from a point of pain because I moved house 2 years ago, and I've still got a succession of direct debits that I think my wife is just like, what does this one do? And I'm sat there going, I assume it does something, but I've actually lost track. There's that so many of them going in and out. But I think, well, funny enough, almost to take you right back to the start, our CEO is a chap called Jack. And I suppose this whole concept came around and he shares this story regularly, by the way. This is publicly available information, but he when he was younger, and I won't disclose his age, he had a house sharing, two house sharing situations, and his main frustration that came from those two parts of his life were from the billing. As in, actually, when I'm moving house here, there's no accountability amongst all of my flatmates and me for who pays what, when. They felt like people were just running around and saying like, well, can you pay me for this and everything. There wasn't any sort of clarity over the process. And actually, I'm not sure if this bit's actually true, but I imagine it probably led to a lot of squabbling amongst, internally amongst the house, about who did what and when as well. So I think the whole idea was he kind of came out of that situation thinking, well, actually, there's potentially a solution, a tech-driven solution to this, and could be onto something here if it's something that gets launched, well.
So I'm guessing that in terms of if you were looking for the ideal client for this, or the ideal, we were building the ideal client avatar, it would be, yes, anybody that's involved with the house moving process, but particularly agents and landlords that deal with student accommodation, HMOs, anything that ever had bills included, all of that sort of stuff. This is more than ideal, isn't it? It's almost like it's made
Yeah.
for.
Most definitely. I mean, on the tenant package side, there's immediate benefit to residential in the sense of, it's still nice to bring all of your bills together into one payment, one package, one setup. But, you're right. Student accommodation's always been a bit of a starting point for us in the sense that, often, 5, 6, 7 tenants all moving in. There's the ability for them to not just have one payment, but to actually split that across, the whole dynamic evenly, so they're all paying their share as well. So it's just, it's such an easy solution to say to these guys, because they'll, the people who are moving in there want that. They don't want to have these squabbles which habitually happen. And I went to uni X amount of years ago, again, at liberty of not disclosing my age, but I had that battle as well. It was very much like, well, you pay gas, you pay electric, who's having this? But then it was very difficult to manage. One bill's more than the other. Can we, just all of us, it just knits it all together, on the bill package side.
That's fantastic. So if I'm an agent and I'm looking to start working with you, do I take it it's best to introduce this at the beginning of a tenancy process, just when I'm in between both tenancies? I think that's probably the ideal juncture. But talk us through how Homebox sort of support the agent to introduce it, and what else do you provide them with in order to sort of make sure that their team sort of takes it up and works it into part and parcel of their everyday literature, if you like.
Definitely. And yeah, I think actually the answer to your question actually probably starts in terms of when to introduce this is probably actually a little bit earlier in the process. So what we essentially do is we give every agent who uses us an actual Homebox account that they can log into, and we can integrate that into the likes of Alto, Repeat, SME Professional, and Intrata if you're from the build to rent side. But however you use it, because we have a lot of agents who of course don't have an integration, ideally what we want them to do is log into their accounts really and give us notice about a move that's coming when the existing tenant tells them about it. So when they give some notice, because if they tell us about that move and add in the details we need, then we're not only in a position to sort of move in and go, here you go, guys, your new tenants later on, let's get them all set up on a bundle to make their life easy and earn you money. Before that, we're actually in position then to help them with the other arm that I was discussing before, which is the ability for them to, to process their voids, for us to do things like council tax, water, energy notifications for them, provide accurate billing, show them who the energy suppliers are, the meter reading. We're in a position before that tenant package even sees the light of day to save them a lot of time before that with these bill processes and these changes as well. Because actually, funny enough, as much as the money, if I ask an agent, I'll give you a few £100 or I'll give you 3 hours back every day.
Yeah.
I don't have a live survey on the go, but I would hedge a bet that most of them would come at me and grab the time at that point more than anything, the money making time.
Sure.
And that's the other piece of the service is we do administer those billing pieces for them and help them with voids, etc. So if they can tell us about that stuff earlier, when the tenant gives notice, we can literally travel down that journey, do the billing, do the new tenant packages, earn them money without really any extra effort as well. And I feel there was a question right at the start of this that I've not answered, by the way, because I've been on a nice big
No, you've answered the question, because my original question was, when should we introduce this? Because it's great. Do we wait until we're right on the cusp of somebody moving in? You've answered that, which is no, start earlier, almost when you know they're moving out.
Yeah.
is
Oh,
the
and
ideal time, because ideally, I suppose you would like an agent to be using this for all their tenancies. And so they may be mid-tenancy on a lot of things right now, but if they're coming up to the end of a tenancy, that's when we need to start thinking Homebox.
Well, exactly, definitely. And I think the one thing that we do also add, there was a side bit to you, I've just remembered it now as well, about how we kind of help the agent, I suppose, sort of get proper buy-in, if you like, in terms of,
Yes.
because I suppose the disconnect here that we've always seen that we work on a lot is it's easy to show the agents this and them go like, cool, understood. But they're then in a position where they kind of have to then educate their own customers. And without our help, that can, be understandably tricky. Because it's all right for me to sit there going, I do this every day. These guys have literally probably just seen it once or twice and are new. So a few things really. We help them with, we actually give them like a dedicated account manager point of contact. So nice and simple, someone to help provide training to the day-to-day staff. But we also now twin that with a lot of sort of bespoke marketing material that agents can use. So for instance, things like QR codes that tenants can scan that they can put in their welcome packs. We also provide things like a calendar in their Homebox accounts. If they're sat with tenants and tenants are like, I don't know where to turn, they can just get booked in and have a chat with our sort of B2C sales team as well. There's even things we give them like void leaflets now as well. So if their landlords are asking questions like, who the heck are Homebox and what are they trying to do? There's a bit of educational material they can use to make sure they're well informed as well.
That is superb. So I was doing some homework before we met. I don't wing everything, but I was working through your website, and one of the things that I really genuinely did like is that you mentioned that you guys recruit for passion. And I know that you've got a couple of names that are fairly well known within the industry, including yourself, but all very passionate about making that process, the lettings process particularly, a much better experience for both agent, the landlord, the tenant, everybody involved in that kind of ecosystem and that cycle. Tell us a bit more about your team and who we should get in contact with if we're interested to talk to you guys.
Definitely. Well, the short answer is probably best to contact the person you're sort of listening to now. Would probably be there. But I suppose away from me and my hideously ever expanding ego, yes, I think what we've done from a recruitment perspective a lot recently is make an effort to hire very like-minded individuals, not so much because they're well known, but I suppose also because they kind of understand the markets that we're operating in. But also as well, we share that passion for, these products only work if you make them relatable and provide real value to our customers as well. It isn't just about, oh, this is a great piece of tech, crack on and use it. It's very much about, we every sales, and I'll explain it, every sales journey we ever go down that never gets off the ground without going, we've spoken to this agent, but what do we know about them? How do they like to make money? How do they do these things now? I never let any of the guys go any further without being able to turn around and say, right, these guys are based in Manchester. They do this, X, Y, Z, from there. So I suppose in terms of our team, we've actually split into 4 divisions now. I'll name drop people. So if they're listening, then, unlucky. On our sort of lettings division team, I'm very well backed by my colleagues, Jade and Hannah, and our account management team. But we also have a build to rent team, which is Rosie Kirk and her guys. We also have a technology company. We partner with a lot of technology companies. So there's Victoria Elston. And then a name probably you'll all be a bit more familiar with, I suppose, on a wider scale. We've also recently hired a small director squad as well. So there's Annalise Walmsley, who used to work at Flat Fare and Zero Deposit as well, if she wants to get in trouble with her previous employers. And there's also Dan Brumhead as well, who's known from his sort of home let days, I suppose, primarily, but he's going to tell me off for not quite scratching my memory together to the most recent one. Tenant shop, it has just come back to me. And then also there's a very nice chap who has a better beard than me called Richard Primmett, who is probably better known from his Rightmove days as well. So the quest continues.
if I call them all industry veterans, it makes them sound like they're all 100 years old and only get wheeled out once a year. But it's much more than that. You've got a wealth of experience, and the passion is something that does come across every time we've spoken, and also with various members of your team. So thank you very much for your time today.
Very welcome. Thank you very much for having me as well.
Pleasure.